Look, when I was 17, I broke into my neighbor's garage. I locked myself out of our house. It was pouring rain. My parents wouldn't be home for hours. The neighbor Louis Scalfer had passed away 2 weeks ago before. It was a tough blow. He was a good friend of our family, and he used to babysit me when I was a toddler, when my parents weren't working nights. If it didn't seem like a tornado might come through at any minute, I would have just sucked it up and walked a few miles back to school. The weather was worsening though, and as hail started to fall, I knew I had to get inside. Both the main garage door and the side door were locked tight. I ran around back. There was a window, and the glass was blacked out. While I initially found it that strange, my inquisitiveness dissipated as hail the size of ping pong balls started to pelt at my head. I took a rock from his garden and felt a pang of primitive guilt, then smashed out the bottom of two panes. Being careful not to destroy any more than I had to, I pulled the wood out from between the open panes, checked for any remaining glass, and squeezed myself through the hole. The garage was very, very dark. I'd never been in there before, even with the dim light coming through the broken window. And I had to feel along the wall to reach the light switch near the door. Thankfully, the power hadn't gone out. I flicked on the switch, and a light flickered as the old fluorescent bulb overhead blinked the lights. Wind howled, and hail plummeted the roof. I dropped into the folding chair and tried to guess how much trouble I'd be in with my parents breaking the window. Looking around, I was impressed by how tidy the garage was. Not even grease stains tarnished the accumulate concrete floor. Everything was organized on shelves and cabinets with a degree of meticulousness I hadn't expected from my former neighbor. He'd always stuck with me a bit. He always stuck to me as a bit of a slob based on my memory of a mess of newspapers and dishes in his kitchen and den. Apparently not. A shelving unit stood in the far corner near the window, holding something I didn't immediately recognize. I got up and walked over. 4 metal blocks that looked like car batteries were lined up on the bottom shelf. There was some wiring coming from them, winding like ivy, and around the back of the shelf into a series of black cubes perched on higher levels. Different wires spouted from those reaching to the top of the shelf, where they all plugged into an old television. The top of the TV bristled with more antenna than I cared to count. With the storm raging, my teenage boredom overtaking my concern for the broken window, I reached up and turned on the TV. The garage changed. Gone were the gleaming concrete floors and clean surfaces. In their places were remnants of carnage, blood, dried blood, gore, caked chains, and chunks of what I could only assume was rotten flesh. A video camera stood nearby, capturing the scene. I read as the thick door of putrefaction was assailed my nostrils. I whirled to face the television. My dead neighbor stood in the middle of the room, methodically, mopping up blood. He'd been recording himself. In a panic, I chased the channel again. The garage around me shifted this time. It was filled with 50 gallons of drums, all leaking noxious sludge onto the floor. Yellow biohazard symbols were embezzled on their sides, as if one needed another reason to stay away from them. I looked at the television. My neighbor was loading a body onto one of the drums. I gasped. I punched the power button, and the garage returned to normal. The old CTR shut down, its screen dimming as the energy bled off. What's happening? I wondered, trying to catch my breath. Outside of the hail continued to fall. I needed to get out of here. Still, my curiosity was overwhelming me. My desire to leave. I'd never seen anything like this before. What had Mr. Shuffle been up to? Against my better judgment, I turned the TV on again. 55 gallons of drums returned. I changed the channel. The room was filled with carcasses of dead animals, squirrels, raccoons, birds, even a dog. On the screen, Mr. Shuffle was rooting around inside the body of a raccoon. His arms slick with bright blood. A vague sense of recollection struck me. When I was little, I remember going by Mr. Shuffle's garage and smelling something awful. I even told my dad about it. He said a deer probably died nearby at the time. I didn't give it any further thought. Now I wondered if I stumbled upon something without knowing. The hail was tapering off. It looked lighter outside. I could probably go. Just one more, I thought. One more. Then I can go back to school, and tonight I'll tell Mom and Dad what I found. With that, I changed the channel. The scene shifted to a tiny boy, maybe 2 years old. At most, was chained on a small chair, wearing only his shirt. He was sobbing. An intense sensation of primal horror began to build inside me. I forced myself to turn towards the TV. I didn't want to anymore. Everything inside me screamed and pleaded to push the shelf over and destroy it all. But I couldn't. Not yet. My eyes met the screen. A glance was all I needed. I shrieked and pulled the shelf and all the electronics onto the floor. With a series of sparks and a burst of smoke, everything returned to normal. Everything, that is, except me. It was that one glance that changed me forever. That one glance showing the neighbor kneeling in front of the tiny chair and pulling off the boy's shirt. That one glance, the same birthmark I still have on my shoulder.